Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic and that you're all having an absolutely incredible day. And without any further ado, I don't know what I'm doing. And without any further ado, you know, sometimes it's just life. Yes. So, where do I begin? As we continue on this fantastic journey together within the cryptocurrency space, we have gotten seemingly back to the point where people are bullish again. Yay! Everyone's talking about where the price is going to do this and how high the prices are going to go and all that other kinds of stuff. And now we've seemingly slid back into old conversations. Years ago in the crypto space, one of the main discussions was about basically how much you need or how much of a coin you need in order to be able to be financially set, if you will. We still do not have any updates on the amount that you need to be part of the Bitcoin 1%. The previous number was 0.28, but that was before we had ETFs owning over 1 million Bitcoin. So therefore, the number is probably a lot lower as far as Bitcoin ownership, if you want to be in like the literal 1% of holders on the planet. It says popular Austrian investment manager and economist Lawrence Lepard recently shared his bullish outlook on Bitcoin in an interview. You would be relatively hard-pressed, at least at the time of me making this video, relatively hard-pressed to find anyone who's like bearish on the cryptocurrency market. We're still having some really weird swings and movements, and this goes up and then that goes down. And I've seen people online expressing their annoyance. Annoyance is a good word. That the meme coins and all these Solana pump and dumps aren't pumping. It's crazy, right? You know, you buy garbage, you get garbage. So now everyone's discussing, once again, this is a very old conversation, basically how much crypto you need to have to kind of be, I don't want to use the term elite, but you understand what I'm saying. Lawrence Lepard believes owning one entire Bitcoin or holding more than one entire BTC will become a major status symbol in the coming years. It already kind of is and always kind of has been. I think people, how do I say this? If you reflect solely on the price, you're not really paying attention. A number of years ago, and this goes back to the 2019, like maybe the beginning of 2020, we had a lot of celebrities who were actually announcing that they were in the space. I think, you know, most, I would say it this way. I think most people within the space probably don't care for a number of these celebrities, but there were a lot of celebrities who were announcing that we have Bitcoin, we're buying Bitcoin now. Kim Kardashian said we've moved on to Bitcoin. It was a, you know, fairly big thing, I think, for normal newsgoers, but for people within crypto, I think they kind of left it to the side. I'm going to do my best to not have another scarcity conversation with everyone out there, because if you don't understand how rare Bitcoin is at this point, after having been here for half a year or a year plus, I can't help you with the actual math. But Bitcoin already is, and I think the thing was called the Veblen effect. I think that's what it was. The idea of being able to procure an asset at a certain price, and then you don't, and then you basically, as time goes on, you see that the value of that asset that you could have acquired goes up dramatically in price. And it kind of then has this like mystical aura to it, where you go, I could have had that for less, and you see that other people who have it, they kind of stand out in your mind as like a certain economic class of people, if you will. So it's happened slowly throughout most of the cryptocurrency market. It happens the same exact way in art. It happens the same exact way in real estate. I told you I knew someone years ago. This must have, I mean, legitimately 2012, 2013. They told me that they were in a position, or rather they saw their friends buying up real estate. Single family homes, 1-bedrooms, studios, things like that, in the States, like I won't say the exact area. And I was like, oh, you should do the exact same thing. And they went, no, it's not something that I'm really into. I think he said he had about 3 friends who were doing it. About 7-8 years later, somewhere around that time frame, I remember having a conversation with him all over again. The first part being that he said they were buying up these homes for $75,000, $110,000. They were going in together. It wasn't just one person buying the home. It was 3 people putting their money together to buy these homes. I don't want to do it. Years later, he told me that these homes are worth hundreds of thousands. They put money into them. They made them look nice. They're renting them out. They're getting rental income. Some of them are worth 300,000, 400 something thousand or other. And now it has this like shine to it. When you hear that someone's buying a home for $75,000, you go, that house must look terrible. They fix it up, make it look nice. They have, 3 different tenants, what have you. You go, oh my gosh, I would love to have a rental property, but no one wants to do that. Other side story. There was a video also maybe 2014, 2015 on YouTube. It was this woman living in Philadelphia. It was the craziest thing in the entire world. This is not financial advice. It's just more of a, this is what this woman did story. She said that she didn't have a lot of money. She grew up relatively poor. She decided to save money and work and yada, yada, yada. She put her money together and she bought like a brownstone looking home somewhere in Philadelphia. This was like years ago, before Philadelphia was like, up and coming, if you will. And I think she ended up buying one of the homes in like a rather, I don't want to use the word rough, but it was a different kind of area. I think she bought it for like $20,000. I think it was her and her brother. They came together. He didn't buy with her. She bought it. He helped her fix it up, make it look nice, did some of the walls, did the floors, yada, yada, yada. And then she was renting it out because it was a multi-floor thing as well. And then she was like, I'm going to keep doing this again. So it was basically a story about her like real estate investment journey. And at some point she owned around like 10 of these things. And the guy who was interviewing her was like, how did you get 10? She said, well, here's the crazy part. Some of her tenants, she made sure that they actually were receiving money from the government through like a form of benefits or something like that. She said because it made sure that she would always be getting her rent. And then the money from that she got, she used that to push into other properties. And then wouldn't you know it, a couple of years later, the area had gentrified so much. A lot of the tenants had moved out and she had like high-paying tenants who ended up moving in. But it only then became a news story after she paid $20,000 for something that was then worth $250,000 each. Not to divert from the story in front of us, but you understand it's the same exact thing. Even with like the recent movements down that we saw the last like couple of weeks, I feel like in so many different ways, and I don't know what the reasoning exactly is, but a lot of people don't look forward. I'm not asking you to always look 5, 10, 20, 38 years into the future, but it's more of a, so many people, there's always just a quick buck aspect. There's never once again, this is why I say only put what you can afford to lose. It's a very strong saying and it's very true. If you're in this market for the long term, and whether you're dollar cost averaging or just buying literally whenever you can, this entire thing is a huge experiment. We're talking about a literal like dethroning of the US dollar to a brand new system. And people hear that and they don't hear it. Because the issue is that it's so easy to shake people out of the market because they're not here for the right reasons. I'm not asking you to become a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm not asking you to understand or like read every single white paper and every single book made about Bitcoin, but understand what this is. Why people talk about like the long term for this market, why we're talking about pension funds getting into this space, why people are mining, like it's all this, it's a whole big conversation, but a lot of people never really think that far. Even the idea of, I'm certain, even the idea of owning an entire Bitcoin, like the conversations that like we literally are having right now, I'm sure there are a lot of people who are like, okay, cool, if I get an entire Bitcoin, then it goes up to 1.1 million, then I sell. Not understanding that a $1.1 million Bitcoin means that the US dollar has like collapsed. People have lost faith in it. They're no longer putting money into it. People are choosing to invest and buy exclusively into cryptocurrencies. And when they're spending their money, it's also in crypto. Like, it's so important to like learn more about the space. What was the other, we just had, there was some other news story a couple of days ago. I can't remember what it is. Oh, that's so annoying. There was just a news story the other day where someone was like saying basically the things that I'm saying every single day, where he's like, people need to learn more about the space, figure out what it is. Why are things the way that they are? Why Bitcoin's very important. I was like, finally, like everyone keeps pretending that like this isn't taking over the world, and everyone, like, the idea of being into this space, you see what's happening in the world right now, right? Like, you see economically and also world economically is taking place. And your first thought is like, okay, cool. Once I make the money, I'm going to swap back into the thing that's collapsing. It's super, 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 super weird. Lawrence Lepard believes owning one entire coin will become a major status symbol in the coming years. And I mean, if we can be completely honest, how many people do you know can buy an entire Bitcoin? It's only going to raise and literally elevate the status of what it means to be in the cryptocurrency market. If people already can't spend 60K, 70K for a Bitcoin, it already has reached this kind of symbol. This is why, like, one of the most popular terms when people are searching Bitcoin, the next word is millionaire. People look for people who are millionaires because of owning Bitcoin. It already is a major status. But once we get to the 200, 300, well, once again, once Bitcoin is worth the same as a home, a house, that's when I think the gears will begin shifting very heavily in people's heads. Because regardless of where Bitcoin's price is or what Bitcoin's doing or the amount of accumulation, you will still have naysayers. And these naysayers will stick around to make sure to point fingers and make you feel bad for being in the market. I told you that years ago. People used to always be like, how's the Bitcoin going? And it was always when the market dropped. And this is not me being mean, but I knew that these people didn't have money also. We weren't close friends, but I ascertained from normal conversations that we were having that like $50 was like, you have $50 to spend right now. It was kind of one of those things. And instead of like being like, hey, sorry for making fun of you. How are you making money, this kind of thing? Or how are you already retired? Nope. It was kind of like a, finger pointy. So I think this will only continue as time ends up trekking along. During this interaction, Lepard went on a major Bitcoin maximalist rant. What? As he predicted that the premier digital currency could reach $10 million per coin in the future. That's nothing new, everyone. Please answer me. Is there anyone out there who thinks that Bitcoin is not going to reach $10 million a coin? You can be completely honest. Because if the crypto space has taught me anything, it's that a lot of people don't listen or aren't paying attention. For those of you who've been here for a good 6-7 years, first of all, I thank you. Hello. The second part is, remember all those coins? I was like, yeah, don't buy that. Yeah, don't touch that one either. Yeah, that one's probably, yeah, nope, that one's going to disappear. It's been blatantly obvious from the very beginning which coins were going to be actually popular and used. And I mean, if the ETFs buying over 1 million Bitcoin in 4 months didn't do it for you, there's probably no helping your wallet. I literally don't know. I mean, 10 million seems, now listen, I don't think we're going there. I don't think we're going there in like the next 2 years, unless we see like a collapse. I think 2035, 2040, especially with the next two halvings. And by the time we get to the 2032 halving, the amount of Bitcoin that actually, is released is just in Satoshis. It's no longer even a full Bitcoin. So that's a mega supply crunch. I think, yeah. And then it's a rather long article. I'm not going to go over the entire thing. You should know already what a Bitcoin maximalist is going to say. He basically said that he advises against anyone, his words, like betting against Bitcoin or shorting Bitcoin. He thinks it's not a very good option for their portfolio. There's a lot of news like this floating around once again. A lot of the news typically has to do with prices, where they're going to go, how high people think Bitcoin's going to be by August, September, October. You name it. It's kind of all over there. But now we've, I guess, maybe slowly gotten to the part about how much Bitcoin one should own. Because everyone has varying numbers. I personally, myself, I tell friends and family, or rather, I've literally held their hand and guided them to crypto exchanges. And I've said at least 1 million Satoshis, at least. It is 1/100th of a Bitcoin. If nothing else, it helps me sleep better at night, knowing that if we get to $1 million, $10 million Bitcoin, at least they have something. The number's still 0.28. But, a lot of people believe buy as much as you humanly can, especially if this does all end up taking off. That's the Lawrence Lepard. Says that owning an entire Bitcoin will be a major status symbol. I mean, we'll see. I still believe a lot of people are hearing what's going on, but they're not really paying attention to it. And I wish them the best of luck. Yeah. Let's move on. Also that's a crazy photo. That's an actual, I don't know why they chose that photo for her. Here we are again, my friends, back into the discussion of the world's economy. As much as we like to pretend that the cryptocurrency space isn't explicitly tied into the world economy, it is. So, the questions now are, when will people stop getting laid off? When will jobs begin hiring again? When will interest rates drop? When will inflation go back up again? What effect will this have on the cryptocurrency market? Governments, a couple of them, have already begun to lower their interest rates, and it's had no real effect on their economies. You see like a little bit of stimulation, if you will, but nothing cataclysmic. Probably the wrong word, but you understand. All eyes are on the US of A for a number of reasons. However, the idea has been since the end of last year, for those of you who were here, and remember, it was basically we were going to have multiple interest rate cuts this year. You can find the videos from October, November, December of 2023. It was the main discussion we kept on getting. JP Morgan, BlackRock, Bloomberg, you name it. We're all saying that this year we would have multiple interest rate cuts. The gigantic problem in the sky, is that the US debt continues to rise at an unprecedented pace. For those of you who did not see, this was maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, the head of the Fed, Jerome Powell, said that we're on an okay course, but if this course continues, we are going to see basically complete economic meltdown. I mean, you can find it. Like, type in Jerome Powell Fed. Oh gosh, I didn't even know what words to use. He says something along the lines of like meltdown. It was basically the debt levels are literally unsustainable, as much as people like to pretend that they're not. You cannot go into multi-trillion dollars worth of debt, and I think there's new debt in the billions. I believe it's in the billions every single day. So the other issue is that money needs to be, because like we're in like the system that we're in, and this is why once again I am a personal huge advocate for the cryptocurrency space. I'm a huge advocate of government selling off their Bitcoin so that it goes back to the masses. That's us, because he who holds the crypto holds the power. The main issue is that while their debt level continues to rise, they need to print more money to be able to pay off the debts. The problem is that as you get more into debt and the level continues to rise, you need to print more money to be able to pay off that debt. As you continue to print more money to pay off that debt, every dollar before is more and more, slightly more devalued because you're printing too many of them. So you print a lot of them to be able to give to the person who you're in debt to, but you've also risen inflation. And as you rise inflation, your debt is also rising as well because of the other economic situations. And it is a vicious loop that they cannot get out of. If you raise interest rates, it's meant to slow down the economy just enough so that people aren't taking out as much. This is personal debt or business debt, are not taking out as much debt through the bank so that inflation kind of slows down. The problem is that inflation is not slowing down, regardless of what they tell us on TV. Inflation is only 2.3, inflation is only 3.1. I see an enormous. So even from the UK, for those of you who are wondering, I'm sorry that I can't give you like every documentary or thing that I'm watching. If you get a chance, you can find documentaries from something called ITV, like the letter I and then TV, and type in like, I don't know, debt or economy or something like that. You'll find documentaries. There's also Channel 4 from the UK. CNBC on YouTube does, I mean, weekly. There's like 5 or 6 of them. Little like exposés on things about people who don't have jobs, people who don't have this, and you know, the struggles over the last 4+ years. It's really rough. It's not like a we're gonna bounce back kind of thing. What every day that we're in this is going to be more difficult for people, once again, who don't have assets or simply aren't prepared. This is once again why I keep saying you should all have some kind of an emergency fund, some kind of money saved. I understand the shininess and you know, awesomeness of being in the crypto space, but you need to also have like, you know, some kind of an emergency just in case things hit the fan. I have a lot of friends recently who have lost their jobs. They've been applying for jobs and there are no jobs. Their rent keeps going up. The economy's not looking good. No one's hiring. Debt levels continue to rise. More money's being printed. Everyone's told that the inflation rate is 3, 4, 5%. Did you see the video online of this guy? He did the same shopping list. Maybe you saw it on Instagram. If you use TikTok, I don't know where people are getting their money news from these days. I think it was from, 2021 or 2019. Those dates stick in my head. Long story short, this guy found like an old digital receipt online from when he did grocery shopping. And he did the exact same grocery shopping again, and the price had more than doubled. And he was like, what are you talking about? Inflation's only 3 or 4%. He's like, it literally has gone up by over 100%. But as a country, as an IMF, as a World Bank, you can't announce those things. If the world reserve currency is wobbling and not doing well, and people aren't doing well, and no one has any money, how are the other countries faring? So when we hear that inflation is 7% there, 18% there, 50% there, that means it's actually far worse. So when you lower interest rates you kind of incentivize these companies to basically once again take out debt for projects. As I was telling you maybe before in one of the other videos, I don't know. One of the ways that people, and I air quote the heck out of this, make wealth is through debt. The problem is that you're still in debt. You're literally in the minus trying to get to the plus. What ends up happening is whenever you see these new building projects and all these other things, if you've never watched the TV show $1 Million Listing and the new spinoff called Owning Manhattan, I love real estate shows. I'm completely obsessed with them. They're showing, I mean, not that it's a spoiler, they're trying to sell like extremely expensive real estate. And some of the projects that get created, usually you have like 10 to 15 different investors. They come together. They take out massive amounts of debt, and then they pump it into the project. The issue is that when it's done, you need people who are going to buy this real estate. So part of these shows is literally looking for people who have the money to be able to spend $22 million to be able to give back to the people who got in debt, hoping that they get all their money back. It doesn't always happen. And they're building these $175 million luxury 4-5 floor apartments, and they sit on the market for years, and a lot of these people end up going bankrupt. The world runs on debt. You should be avoiding debt at all costs. Do you understand my words? Do not get into debt. It is a literal trap on purpose. The idea is the way that banks make money usually was before by you holding your money with them. You would pay them to keep it secure. Here's $5 a month. Please keep my money safe. They had it behind bars and behind a big safe. You've seen the movies. The way that the world started working in the 1980s was the idea of like extra debt. This was during the advent and the creation of credit cards. We already had forms of credit in the 50s and 60s. It was usually like a piece of paper that would kind of like get put through this little like slidey machine, not the same machine as the checks. There was something else in the 50s and 60s. And thus came the advent of the electronic strip. And people figured out that they could like do things electronically this way, and they put it on the form of a card because they wanted people to be able to carry it around without it getting destroyed. Because in the 50s and 60s, they tried having everyone having like a debt slip walk around with them. But after a couple of weeks, if it got wet, it would get destroyed. So in Visa and MasterCard, the reason why they run the market, and there was a third company. It wasn't not the Diners Club. There was another company in the 70s who kind of completely got bought up. They made these plastic cards and they began to distribute them. They were literally, here's how it went out. Listen. Here's how it used to be. They would literally mail these to people. Do you understand? They would literally take a mailing list and they would start mailing it to dozens and dozens of people. I said, here, this is a card that you can use as basically free money. You can use it whenever you want. You'll be in a little bit of debt, and then you pay us back that money at the end of the month. You need to make a huge purchase. You need to buy some so-and-so and so. Use this card. And it was intended in future money terms, our money terms. You would basically use it for a $50 purchase or a $100 purchase equivalent to back then, and you would pay that money off. But this wasn't enough because banks realized that they could start advertising things to people as a way to be happy. If you make sure that you control the economy and you control the jobs and you control the way that the system works, you begin to tell people and sell things to people. This will make you happy. What do you mean you don't have one? Don't you think that you need this in your life? Advertising began to take a real turn in the 1920s and 1930s in the United States. It wasn't this way in many other places, where they began to specifically advertise that something was wrong with you. You know what Listerine was originally made for? It was a floor cleaner, but not enough people were buying it. So they looked for actual problems, air quotes, that people have, and they said, morning breath. Which wasn't a thing. You know, people, not to get too far into that conversation, but we're human. We have, things happen to us. But they said, we're going to do this. It's the same exact thing in the 40s and 50s. They began to advertise specifically to women different colorful dresses, because before that everything was relatively gray and brown. Everything had like muted colors. Same exact thing with men's outfits. But the idea was, if you can tell someone, well, red goes great with your eyes. What do you mean you're not wearing blue? You're so pretty. You have these advertisements with tons of different colors and tons of different dresses. Doesn't this make you happy? And people began to buy these things. By the time we got to the 70s and 80s, consumerism had really begun to pick up in the United States. By the time they got to the 80s, they had really figured out the formula. Make you feel bad about yourself, make you believe that you need something that other people have or that they don't have, so that you have it before them. It's the same exact thing with diamond rings. If you get a chance to watch a documentary, the system is messed up. The system is literally like toxic. If you get a chance to watch a documentary on diamond rings and how the idea of needing a diamond ring for marriage began. It began in the 10s and the 20s when these companies were mining all these minerals and they found a whole bunch of diamonds, and they were like, no one really wanted them. Some royal people sometimes had rubies and gems and things like that in their crowns or on their scepters if there was like a specific event that they had to go to, especially one that was public. But diamonds weren't really that big. So they started an ad campaign. It was De Beers, and I forgot the other company. You can find this somewhere online. And they basically began to have these things where it's like, don't you love her? Give her a diamond. And diamonds were still very, very cheap. They made the ad campaigns that said you should be spending multiple months of your money on a diamond ring because they weren't making enough money. Do you understand? It's insane. Like, everything is literally made just to keep pumping money into the hands of the massively wealthy. It's an absolutely insane system. So what we have right now is we've gotten to this crunch. From the 80s, they figured out how to basically have people on the hook forever. One of the easiest ways is through a form of debt. But which form of debt? You as a company, you get to decide which one you want to have them on the line for. The easiest one tends to be real estate. Don't you want to have a white picket fence and a family and a dog? You should be spending an enormous amount of money. So what happens is, and what we're also seeing the knock-on effects of as well, are corporations buying up all the homes, making sure that things get more expensive. It's always about a consolidation of power. This is the way that the system works. And this is why Bitcoin is so powerful. And this is why more people need to know about Bitcoin. And this is why 4 billion people on the planet need access to this market. Because the same exact people, from the diamonds to the houses to the credit cards, are the same exact people who have made sure that 4 billion people on the planet have no access to banks or to the financial system. It's done on purpose. Learn, watch documentaries, read. The world is such a disastrously fantastical, weird place. Everything that happens, it's all hyper interconnected. The problem is, once again, I know I've said that phrase like 38 times today, is that we've reached the tipping point, and it cannot continue in this way. It literally cannot. We will see like a complete meltdown by the 2050s. And I mean a complete and utter system meltdown. People are getting older. They're staying alive longer. The world is changing right before our eyes. And this is why whenever we have this news of these governments who are like banning Bitcoin, stopping all these, they see what's coming. We see the demographics. We see that people in these countries are choosing to buy Bitcoin over their local currencies because they're like, I can't buy bread. I've been in Bitcoin for a year and a half. I can send my kid to school. We can pay for our rent. Our money's not being devalued. That's the one thing. That's one of the weirdest parts of calling Bitcoin like a stable currency, or more stable than other currencies out there right now. We're witnessing history right before our eyes, and then you have all these people who get into the market just because they want to make some quick money with a dog or a cat or something like that, and then they disappear, and it's like, what are you talking about? How are you missing all of this news? Always read, always learn. When you're on a bus, a train, a plane, if someone's driving you to work, put on a podcast, listen to a video, like keep learning about what's happening and what has happened. It's all interwoven. It's all interconnected. It's insane. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, has advised the United States to improve their fiscal position by reducing spending and increasing revenues. The IMF has emphasized addressing rising debt through policy adjustments and recommends maintaining current interest rates until the end of this year. They said, given those risks, we agreed that the Fed should keep policy rates at the current level until at least late 2024. This was said by the International Monetary Fund's chief. When you lower interest rates, you incentivize people to get in debt. If you lower interest rates by a lot, you let people know it's okay to get into debt. It's okay to spend hundreds of millions of dollars worth of debt to build these projects, to build these things, to build these roads, to build these yada, yada, yada. And the issue is that becomes a new form of debt on the U.S. economy. It causes inflation to rise because new money has to be created for the issuance of that debt. As new money gets printed, the inflation rate goes up. As the inflation rate goes up, things in supermarkets and in daily life get more expensive. It's a catch 99. It is not a catch 22. They have caught themselves in the complete loop. When you hear what a lot of and I'll say it to you this way. Some Bitcoin maximalists, especially the ones in the news, they tend to be quite eccentric. But the eccentricness tends to kind of, they end up saying really weird stuff as opposed to giving actual facts and numbers. So a lot of times you'll hear things are whatever, like you see them wearing hats and caps and all these like weird shirts and making these odd videos. This is more of what they should be talking about. These were the original Bitcoin maximalists, like the Jack Dorseys, the Andreas Antonopoulos, and all these other people. I told you, when I was first looking at the market, these people predicted all of this stuff. And it's all happening right now in front of us. They would catch themselves in a loop that they could not get out of. You need to print more money. It's the only way to show that your economy is doing well. That's a system that they've made. When you print more money, it shows that your GDP has gone higher. If your GDP goes lower, especially for the world reserve currency for that country, things are going to collapse. So you have to print money to raise your GDP to show that the economy is still stimulated. The GDP goes up when you've issued debt, when you've printed new money because there's demand. I want to build on this road. I want to build this 80-story tower. Your economy's doing great. When the building stops, your country stops. When you print that money, inflation goes up. When inflation goes up, things become more expensive. You have to continue doing it forever. There's no way out of the loop. There is a way out of the loop, but people around the world haven't really figured that one out yet. That's why I keep saying before, let's be completely honest. That's why when we had news about a month and a half ago about the Lightning Network, and I was like, what are you waiting for? Like, once again, as someone who does not code, I will simply say, Bitcoin is at a very specific position in history right now. I think that adoption will continue, but that adoption can completely be accelerated if we stopped this fragmentation within the space. If people kept on, stop pretending that what's literally on the screen as if it isn't happening. Where are these companies who are, building on the Lightning Network? I'm sorry to say this, but do it faster. Build these connections. Make things as strong as humanly possible. Pump more stuff into the Lightning Network to make sure that you can literally, we can start a campaign right now telling people around the world, you literally, the problem is that with the Bitcoin chain, you're talking about high transaction costs. If you can get the Lightning Network super robust and you can have a campaign where you tell 4 billion people you can buy Satoshis and you can use those literal Satoshis to transact back and forth. I know we have, I think it's the Strike app. There's two, there's Stripe and Strike. I forgot which one is using Lightning. Some crypto exchanges are using Lightning, but it's like, it's not enough. We can literally get the masses into this market away from the old system to protect themselves from these levels of inflation. It would take, and I'm telling you, it would take no more than a year. People underestimate how quickly life can change, how great things can be. Everyone gets so stuck in the way that things are that no one kind of sees, not even the vision for the future is like what can be. And it's not that far off. We have all the infrastructure. It just has to be more robust. So without, this is a very long article. The entire idea of what they're saying is that the International Monetary Fund is basically telling the U.S. to not raise interest rates or also to not cut them, because it'll cause a huge amount of instability for the U.S. market. Basically, we would see those 6, 7, 8, 9% levels of inflation all over again, and the levels that they tell us. It's kind of like that thing a couple days ago. No, this is weeks ago, where Jerome Powell went on stage and he was like, I don't get why people are so upset about the economy. I don't, things are looking great. The jobless numbers are down and this, and I'm like, that's because you're printing the money. You have no idea how the average person is living. And it's not even the average person. It's the majority of people on the planet are living, nonetheless, within the United States. Everyone's losing their job. They can't find a job. Things keep getting more expensive. How do you think people are going to feel? Oh, this is fine. My rent basically doubled and I got a 3% raise at my job. I'm doing great. Things are just completely fine. Of course people are angry. What are you talking about? You're so disconnected to the real world that you don't understand these numbers. You print trillions of dollars. You raise interest rates, causing people to not. The reason why these companies have so many layoffs, for those of you who were unaware, is to save their company. If you have employees who are making 60, 70, 80K per year, and you can fire 1,500 of them in one go or in one season or per season, you do 1,500 times 80K, and you get that number, and you go to the shareholders and go, we have found a way to procure another 67 million or something or other odd dollars. And then everyone claps, and then the stock valuation goes up. But there's no hiring, because you can't hire because you need to keep all that money consolidated as close as possible to you and the company. Are these people crazy? No, I know they are. I'm not going to pretend that they don't understand what they're doing. They know exactly. They know exactly what's going on. Another major discussion, it keeps popping back up in the crypto news, and once again, that's because we are so tightly interwoven into this system. I wish more people knew about it. I wish more people cared about it. But personal opinion, I think there's so much going on in life, especially right now. I think the average person even thinking of finding a way to get out of the hole is very difficult. I imagine debt a lot of times like you look up and all you see is dirt and a small patch of sky. You can't figure out how to use the sides to climb yourselves up. It's so crazy. The stories that I keep hearing, the people who I talk to, I keep meeting new people and I'm having discussions about life, and I see people desperate now to try and own a home or to try and invest in stuff like that. And it's not like I knew these people from years ago, but for all my friends, everyone, I'm a huge advocate of saving, having something on the side for a rainy day or a stormy month, getting into crypto, trying to understand it. But this is also part of the annoyance when I see these people just jumping into meme coins. I get it, but it's also not right. They're jumping into the meme coins because they feel like they've missed their boat when it comes to buying Bitcoin or Ethereum. The prices are so high, I can't buy an entire coin. And that's because years ago they could have gotten into the space, but they didn't. So the knock-on effect or the knock-off effect is that they go, okay, I'm in the market now. What do I buy? And all they see are these other YouTubers peddling these terrible, horrible coins to them. This one's going to go up by 14,000%. That one went up by 10. And this narrative continues because the desperation has increased. You saw 5 years ago that you could have gotten into the market at very cheap prices and you didn't. You get into the market now, you're looking to make the money that you saw people made over the last 5 years. You hop into the market, you don't know where to go. You buy these coins, you put your hard-earned money into them. The coins go to zero and you sit there and go, well, where's the money? What do I do? People get discouraged and they leave the market. They sell off their coins. If they had any, like, you know, Bitcoin or Ether, they sell these coins off. The price goes a lot lower and whales buy them up. It's a terrible loop. It happens over. And I know this desperation is only going to continue. I know it's going to continue. And it's going to get even worse. This isn't meant to scare you. It's just more of a look at the patterns. Stop pretending that things aren't happening. I've been saying that for I don't know how long. It's the same like with crypto exchanges. If you have a question and they're holding your money, ask them a question. Don't be afraid to check your bank account. Get your finances in order. Like, this is the moment. You can't sit there afraid all the time, because in 2029, do you still want to be exactly where you are in 2029? I know the answer is no. You gotta get it together. This system is not going to fix itself. It's literally been since 1971. It's been corroding. It is corrosive. It is falling apart. Home prices are not going to get any lower. Asset prices are going to continue rising. It's the way, like, you have to find a way to cushion yourself. It is the only possible way. I know so many people, and there's also, this isn't a mean thing. There's so many people who I've stopped talking to recently in the last couple of years. It's not because we don't share the same vision, but it's like, I'm so desperately tired of trying to help people. I only have two hands of trying to lift everybody up, and I look at their hands and it's full of grease, it's full of Vaseline, and they make sure that they slip away. And then I see them later on, years later or months later, and they go, oh, you know, life is so rough. I don't have any money. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that information? You've done nothing to help yourself. You've done absolutely nothing to improve your situation. It's okay to complain. It's okay to have problems. We all have problems. We can all complain. If you're complaining about the same stuff from 5 to 10 years ago, stop complaining. You don't want to fix it. You have no intention of making your life better. You have zero intention. If you don't want to be in the same spot as you were 5 years ago, and also 5 years further into the future, act now, right now. I told you, this was maybe 2-3 years ago, I had the same exact thing. I told everyone here, I said, if you have stuff in your house that you don't want, you don't need, it's just sitting there, dust it off and sell it. Go on eBay, go on Craigslist, sell it, get rid of it. Take that money that literally would have just been sitting around, put half of it into an emergency fund and invest the other half. Keep doing this. Declutter your homes. Make sure you get as much money as possible into emergency savings and into investments. Do this all the time, constantly. Make life better for yourself. No one else can do it for you. It's just you. This is literally the moment. I am terrified. I'm terrified of the year 2030. Because I can't begin to imagine how many people I know or knew, the problems that they're going to have. One of my best friends, we were just hanging out. And he literally, a literal almost tear came to my eye. He was like, thank you. He was like, thank you so much for everything that you showed me. I told him, I was like, buy real estate. Buy so-and-so, get a tenant, do this, put your money into this market, make passive income. Now he's traveling all the time. He's literally traveling all the time. Every 2 or 3 weeks he's gone. He's just traveling, enjoying his life. Because I told him years ago to get it together. I was like, stop pretending like you're not getting older. I'm sorry for the rant, but it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Even these people in these documentaries, I sit there and I'm like, that's the moment where they're going to be like, this is it. You know, life is going to get life together now. No. The US dollar is going to continue inflating. The euro is going to continue inflating. The Japanese yen has been collapsing. Have you seen the yen recently? It's horrible. There are these like little videos of people talking to people in Japan and they're like, I've never felt poorer. Oh boy. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. Please, for the love of heaven, take care of yourself. And I mean mentally and physically and financially. You should, if you've been watching this channel, I swear to goodness, you should have an emergency fund. You should have some money tucked away. And you should have, I assume, been investing for a while. I do hope you've all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day. Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.